Okay, so you know how everyone's always talking about communication and trust being the big things in a relationship?
Right, the foundations.
Exactly. But there's this other kind of huge piece that, like, nobody really tells you how to figure out
Yeah.
sexual compatibility. Like, you can have amazing chemistry with someone, but
Yeah.
what happens when the lights go out?
Right. Big question.
It is. And that is our deep dive today. So I am so glad to have you here. You're going to help us unpack all this.
Yeah, happy to be here. It's definitely a more uh, complex topic than I think a lot of people realize.
Okay, so since it's not as easy as just finding someone with a matching, like, number on the libido scale,
Right, not a numbers game.
what are we really talking about with this whole sexual compatibility thing?
Okay, so think of it this way. You've got two people super attracted to each other,
Okay.
both with healthy libidos. It sounds like the makings of,
Recipe for amazing chemistry.
yeah. But what if, and here's the thing, what if one person is super into like playful banter and spontaneity, but the other person, they need like long, deep conversations before they're even thinking about physical touch.
Oh, wow.
So both can have that desire, that spark,
Yeah.
but how they express it, what turns them on, it's like totally different. That's where things get interesting.
Oh, that makes so much sense. So it's almost like they're speaking different languages when it comes to desire, even if they both want the same, like, end result.
Exactly. And that's why just matching on, like how often you want to be intimate, that's not the whole picture.
Right.
True compatibility, it goes
Yeah.
way deeper. It's desires, it's boundaries, it's what each person actually finds pleasurable, and even I think your values around sex in general.
Oh, so it's like that whole love languages thing, but for...
Yes, exactly that.
Yeah.
And just like with the love languages, being aware of your own and your partner's, it can make all the difference. But honestly, it goes even deeper than that because we're talking about like your values around sex, your individual, and this might sound a little jargony, but your sexual scripts.
Sexual scripts. Now, that's a term I haven't heard before.
Yeah. So it's actually pretty fascinating. Think about it, okay? The way we were raised, our culture, past relationships, even stuff we've seen in movies, read in books, all of that kind of contributes to this, like, script we carry around with
So you're
us.
saying we're basically taking our entire romantic past into the bedroom with us? That's kind of wild when you think about it.
Well, I wouldn't say it's like a whole baggage claim situation, more like, maybe a carry-on.
Okay, that's a good way to put it. So it's more like these scripts kind of influence our expectations, comfort zones, that kind of thing. But they can change.
Exactly. They're not like set in stone, thankfully.
Yeah.
We evolve as people.
Right.
So what we're into, how we experience intimacy, it evolves too.
Okay, that is reassuring. So it's not like you figure out this whole compatibility thing once and you're good to go. It's like
Oh, no, no, no.
it's fluid. It takes work.
Totally. And life
Yeah.
doesn't make it easy, right?
Great.
I mean, you've got work stress, maybe your body's changing, you have kids, all that can impact. Exactly. Libido, even what you find pleasurable, like what worked for you and your partner 5 years ago might not be the thing now.
Okay, this is making me realize why everyone's always saying communication is key. Like, it's even more true now.
Right.
But how do you actually do that well, especially when it's something so, like, personal? Because it's one thing to say talk to each other,
Sure.
but actually doing it in a way where someone doesn't feel judged,
That-
that's hard.
That's the key right there.
Mhm.
It's not just talking. It's making that safe space where you can both be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I think that starts with coming at it from like curiosity, not judgment.
So less, why don't you like this anymore? And more, how do you even bring it up?
Instead of you always or you never frame it from your own experience, I feel.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
I feel like we haven't been as connected lately versus you never want to be intimate anymore.
Exactly.
Oh, I see. Just that little tweak changes everything.
Right. It's about you're expressing your needs, what you desire, but you're not making the other person feel like they're doing something wrong.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not a one and done, like you had the talk, you're good. It's an ongoing thing.
Okay. So we're talking openly, we're being respectful of each other, all good things. But what happens when you realize you actually just have different ideas of what a fulfilling sex life looks like? Like, is that it? Is it a deal breaker?
That's where it gets really interesting. And I think, honestly, where a lot of couples, they hit a wall.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be a deal breaker at all. Understanding and compromise, those are so key.
Easier said than done, though, right? Like, how do you compromise on something so, again, so personal?
It's about finding that path that works for both of you. So
Yeah.
maybe, as an example, one person is really into trying, like toys, experimentation,
Okay.
and the other person's hesitant, hasn't had a good experience, whatever it might be,
Right.
that doesn't mean it's over. It means you talk about why is this important to you and what are your concerns? Like getting to those underlying reasons.
So it's about the why behind the what. I
Yeah.
like that. Are there like actual tools, things people can use? Because I imagine even with the best intentions, these conversations can get kind of heated or just like feel like they're going nowhere.
Yeah, totally. One thing I recommend a lot is something called the desire wheel.
The what?
Desire wheel. Yeah, it's basically this visual representation of all the different aspects of desire. So we're not just talking about like touch, but also emotional connection, maybe power dynamics come into play for you, aesthetics.
The desire wheel. Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this.
So basically, it's this really cool tool for couples to like visually explore their own desires
Yeah.
and see where they maybe overlap, where they're
Yeah.
different, because it's not just about the physical stuff.
Right.
It makes you think about all the different things that actually add up to a fulfilling, intimate life.
So it's like less about are you in the mood and more about what actually gets us both like excited, but on a deeper level.
Yes, exactly. You're getting to those individual nuanced desires,
Yeah.
and then you can use that to like figure out that sweet spot where you're both satisfied, you're connected. It's not just one person's needs being met.
This is great. Okay, but I gotta ask, even with all the best communication, all the good intentions, sometimes you're just different, right? Like you might not always find that perfect compromise.
Absolutely. And that's where I think another piece of compatibility comes in.
Yeah.
It's not just about communicating, it's can you accept and navigate those differences?
Because you're not always going to be totally in sync.
Right.
Right.
And that's okay.
So is it about like picking your battles a little bit?
Kinda, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, figuring out which differences are those deal breakers and which ones are like, okay, we can live with this. Maybe we even appreciate this about each other, you know?
Yeah.
Because your partner having a different way of experiencing desire, it's not a rejection of you. It's just them being them, having their own needs and preferences.
Okay, wow. This has been, I'm telling you, eye-opening is the word that comes to mind. We really went beyond just the surface level. We talked about communication, our own histories, even acceptance. It's a lot. So for our listeners who might be feeling like, whoa, that's a lot to process, what's like one big thing you want them to remember?
If there's just one thing, it's this. Sexual compatibility, it's not like you reach the finish line. It's a journey. You're constantly exploring within yourself and with your partner. And approach it with that curiosity, not judgment. Be vulnerable instead of placing blame. Even with differences, you can still have amazing connection and pleasure.
I love that. So whether you're just figuring out your own sexual script or you've been with someone a long time and you're like, wait, we need to work on this,
Yeah.
it's never too late. Open communication, really trying to understand each other and knowing yourself, that's huge.
Huge. And don't forget to have fun with it. A little laughter, a little playfulness, that goes a long way.
This was amazing. To everyone listening, we hope this kind of sparked some new ways of thinking about all this, maybe even gave you some things to talk about with your partner. Keep exploring, keep connecting, and we'll see you next time.